The India-Maldives relationship, dubbed as the Friendship of the Waters, boasts of historical depth and shared cultural ties. The Maldives, a strategically located archipelago, plays a crucial role in India's regional security and neighborhood-first policy. Their bond has been fortified over time through cooperation in defense, trade and tourism, and cultural exchanges. Yet a pivotal event in 2024 disrupted this oceanic rapport and ignited a diplomatic crisis. The diplomatic storm was triggered by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Lakshadweep. This otherwise benign diplomatic event unfolded into a controversy that would shake the foundations of India-Maldives relations. Following Modi's visit, Maldivian ministers unleashed a flurry of remarks on social media, not holding back from using derogatory language to describe the Indian leader. The remarks were met with shock and outrage in India, a country that has long seen the Maldives as a close ally in the Indian Ocean region. The controversy was exacerbated by the fact that these comments were not just from low-level officials, but from deputy ministers. The remarks were seen as a direct affront not just to Modi, but to India as a whole, casting a shadow over the long-standing friendship between the two nations. Social media, in its characteristic fashion, amplified the controversy. The comments were shared, retweeted and commented upon, sparking a wave of indignation across India. This was not just a diplomatic issue, it was a matter of national pride. The incident was a stark reminder of the power of words, particularly in the age of social media, where a single tweet can ignite a diplomatic firestorm. The Maldivian government was quick to respond, suspending the involved deputy ministers in an effort to distance itself from the controversy. However, the damage was already done. From an Indian perspective, the incident was not just a matter of uncouth remarks, but a sign of a deeper shift in Maldivian foreign policy. After all, this was not just about a few tweets, this was about the geopolitical balance in the Indian Ocean, a region of critical strategic importance. The incident highlighted the delicate nature of diplomatic relations and the potential for a single event to change the course of a bilateral relationship. In the aftermath of the controversy, both India and the Maldives were left to pick up the pieces, trying to navigate a diplomatic crisis that had far-reaching implications. The incident was a stark reminder of the power of words and the potential for a single event to change the course of a bilateral relationship. These derogatory comments strained the otherwise friendly relations between the two nations. In the face of mounting criticism, the Maldivian government took swift action. A diplomatic crisis was brewing, and the Maldives knew it had to act decisively. The ministers involved in the controversy, who had made derogatory remarks about India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, were promptly suspended. The government of Maldives made it abundantly clear that these comments were not reflective of their official stance. They distanced themselves in no uncertain terms, emphasizing the respect and regard they hold for India and its leadership. The Maldivian government's response was a clear attempt to control the damage and prevent the situation from escalating further. But, as the saying goes, once the genie is out of the bottle, it's nearly impossible to put it back in. The comments had already been made, and the shockwaves were felt across the Indian Ocean, reaching the corridors of power in New Delhi. Despite these steps, the damage was done and India's reaction was imminent. India, feeling slighted, responded with firm diplomatic steps. Not one to sit idle in the face of disrespect, India's Ministry of External Affairs moved quickly, summoning the Maldivian envoy to express their unease. The Indian High Commission in Male, the capital of the Maldives, also chimed in, expressing deep concern over the incident. The diplomatic machinery, often seen as a slow and ponderous beast, was swift in this case. The envoy was called to answer for the derogatory remarks made by the Maldivian ministers. The Indian government wanted to make it clear that such comments were not only unbecoming of a diplomatic relationship, but also damaging to the long-standing friendship between the two nations. The Indian High Commission's statement was an echo of these sentiments, highlighting the need for respect and understanding in diplomatic discourse. They emphasized that such incidents could potentially strain the bonds of friendship that have been nurtured over decades. This was not just a diplomatic move on India's part, but also a statement to the world. a message that India values its relationships and will not tolerate any form of disrespect, regardless of the source. It was also a wake-up call for other nations, reminding them of the importance of maintaining diplomatic decorum in international relations. Yet the ripple effects of this diplomatic crisis were far-reaching, extending even into the economic realm. The next chapter of this saga would unfold in the tourism industry, a sector vital to both India and the Maldives. The diplomatic fallout took a heavy toll on tourism, one of Maldives' key breadwinners. The tremors of the diplomatic faux pas resonated through the travel sector, which is the lifeblood of the Maldivian economy. The most glaring aftermath of the incident was the bold step taken by Ease My Trip, one of India's premier travel agencies, to suspend flights to the Maldives. They didn't just stop at that. Pushing the envelope further, Ease My Trip started promoting the Indian archipelago of Lakshadweep as a substitute getaway. This was not merely a business maneuver, it was a symbolic slap in the face, compounding the tension between the two countries. It's disappointing and infuriating that the Maldivian leaders didn't make more effort to salvage the strained relations. The Indian masses were all too ready to follow suit. The transition was tangible, with the fascination for Lakshadweep among Indian tourists catching like wildfire. The untouched paradise of Lakshadweep, with its azure waters and virgin sandy beaches, was abruptly thrust into the spotlight and onto the itineraries of many Indian tourists. It seems the Maldivian leaders sat idle, watching as Indian celebrities who once thronged to the luxury resorts of the Maldives were now seen vacationing in Lakshadweep. These public figures further propelled Lakshadweep's image as a coveted holiday spot through their social media posts, which were shared and applauded by millions of followers, creating a wave of curiosity about Indian islands. This switch was then just a change in vacation plans. It was a denouncement of Maldivian inaction and a show of unity with the Indian government. The hashtag #ExploreIndianIslands was trending, and the internet was alive with discussions about the India-Maldives diplomatic impasse. This change in tourism trends is a stark reminder of the broader repercussions of the diplomatic crisis. It's a clear sign that political actions can have wide-ranging impacts, shaking up entire sectors and disrupting industry dynamics. It's saddening and maddening that the Maldivian leaders have not done more. As dust settles on this distressing incident, the world waits with bated breath to see how these shifts will outline the future of tourism in both the Maldives and Lakshadweep. Even as the world watches, it's clear. The repercussions of this diplomatic misstep are far from over. This incident is emblematic of the changing geopolitical dynamics in the Indian Ocean region. A subtle but significant shift is taking place, with China's growing influence becoming increasingly apparent. As the economic powerhouse expands its footprint, it isn't just the Maldives that's caught in this geopolitical tug-of-war. The Maldives, traditionally a close ally of India, appears to be recalibrating its foreign policy. It's a delicate dance, balancing its long-standing friendship with India against the lure of Chinese investment and the promise of economic growth. This shift isn't happening in a vacuum, and is part of a broader, more complex picture of evolving alliances and power dynamics. China's Belt and Road Initiative, a mammoth global infrastructure project, has been a key tool in its strategic expansion. By offering significant investment in infrastructure development, China is subtly shifting the balance of power in its favor. This is particularly true in the Indian Ocean region, where the Maldives, with its strategic location, is a prized piece in the larger geopolitical puzzle. This incident between India and the Maldives then serves as a microcosm of these larger shifts. It's a reminder that the power dynamics of the Indian Ocean are not static, but are subject to the ebbs and flows of international politics and economics. Public opinion, too, has been swayed by this incident, as seen in the trending hashtag #ExploreIndianIslands. This diplomatic crisis raises critical questions about the future of India-Maldives relations. This once warm friendship, steeped in shared culture and mutual interests, is now under strain. The geopolitical shifts in the Indian Ocean region are certainly not helping. With China's growing influence, the Maldives seems to be playing a delicate balancing act, and this recent incident has only amplified the complexity of this dance. Public opinion, particularly in India, is swaying towards a shift in focus to domestic tourism, as reflected in the #ExploreIndianIslands trend. This could potentially impact the Maldives economy, which heavily relies on Indian tourists. So, where do we go from here? It's a delicate path to navigate. The healing process will require diplomatic finesse, economic considerations, and a careful handling of public sentiment. With regional stability hanging in the balance, the next steps of both nations will be closely watched by the world.